How are you, Tafarrah?
I'm good, Mahmood. How are you?
Welcome to Career Curiosity. Basically, we are a platform that we've come up to discuss people's careers and if they have their own business or have their own show or work in a career. Like if you're an accountant, if you're a finance specialist, which I know that you are.
Yes.
And we are really happy to have you here tonight.
Thank you.
It's been a pleasure. I've known you for a long time, and probably we've met actually in a very weird, strange part of the country in Halifax, Nova Scotia.
On the East Coast.
On the East Coast, yes. Very beautiful times in the Maritimes, I would always say. I love the Maritimes. I will always have the heart to it. Let's talk about Smokers Digest. We want to start, just give us a little background of what you do in your daily profession, and give us a bit of a background on what you do as a night profession.
Oh, jumping right into it.
Yes.
Not to sound that bad. My day-to-day job, I am in the hedge fund accounting space. So my 9 to 5, sometimes 9 to 11 p.m. working overtime is hedge fund accounting. So I started that, like you said, we got our start in Halifax. I started in Halifax, working for one of the hedge fund administrators out there. And then I got a call from, that was about like 4 or 5 years.
I think it's 5 years ago. Yeah, 2015. Around that time. Yeah.
When we were still young, bright-eyed and bushy-tailed.
Young.
To be young again. And then I got a call from another company in the same space and industry.
Yeah.
And it was to Toronto. It was a call to Toronto. I always wanted to live in Toronto.
I think that was like the biggest dream that we all had.
That was like the small town dream to get the call to go to Toronto and live the city life. So I got that call. I said yes as quickly as I could.
It's like if Toronto proposes to anyone that
is in another relationship, you're going to be like,
part of Canada. I think Toronto's like the place to be in our younger days. I would definitely say in my younger days, Toronto was the place to be.
Because we didn't know what we know now.
Yeah, of course, obviously. We didn't know the traffic was going to be there.
We didn't know like little boxes cost $1 million.
Exactly. But it's good. And, you got into hedge fund, administration. It's probably been a challenging career. I would say a lot of stress. Obviously, there's a lot of money movement in those, but we don't have to get into that.
No.
Let's talk about Smokers Digest. How has Smokers Digest been going for you, especially that you started this maybe before legalization of cannabis?
Yes. So I got the idea like 2 years before legalization. And at the time, like there wasn't a lot of like resources for this, obviously.
Yeah.
And then trying to implement like a creative way to have the business as well was a big gray area.
Okay.
So starting with my 9 to 5, I would do that, then come home at whatever hour I would come home, and then have a little bit of fuel in my tank.
Okay.
And then I'd be like, oh man, I don't know if I can get it to where I needed to get it to, but just the drive and excitement of being in a space that's
new,
uncharted territory. I'm like, that put the fuel in the tank that I needed, the excitement that I needed to like push on. It started as a subscription box company. Every month we would change the theme to something fun and exciting. Like if it was like Bob Marley's birthday this month, like we'll do like a Rastafarian theme where the colors of the pipe would be infused with the Rastafarian colors, and like that whole box would follow that theme. So it started off like that. It was nice. It grew a good audience. And now it's like a lifestyle brand.
Okay.
So not only are you getting like fun subscription boxes, you're also getting like actual content.
Okay.
Like, so recipes on how to cook it, how to change your cannabis bud into something different, how to implement it in your day-to-day lifestyle.
Yeah. And what I find interesting is I was not born in Canada. You were not born in Canada. We both came to this country. We started our lives, different, paths and everything. One of the things I find, does it usually like cannabis became legal in October of 2017.
2018.
October 2018, right? So it was about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Before that, did you get enough, was there enough information on how to start a business in Canada in general? I'm not speaking about the cannabis industry itself.
Yeah.
So there was information, like do you get the information that you actually feel is clear enough for you and it's not boring, it's not, driving you sideways?
Oh yeah. Canada's really good with stuff like that.
Okay.
Like,
are you talking like provincial level? Are we talking federal level? Are we talking municipal level of having a business in general? Or how easy is it to...
I think when you're talking about the federal, like anything's going to be a little bit more challenging, more paperwork, right?
Okay.
But on the local level, yeah, there are a lot of programs in place.
Okay.
Programs for women, programs for visible minorities, programs just for programs to help you, like, take the first steps.
Take the first step.
Yeah, and then also to network in that space or outside of a space just to network.
Yes.
Like there are a lot in, especially Toronto, I should say.
Yeah, there is. What I find living in Toronto in general is I find it as a very accepting place to new things, new ideas. And that's why like Uber, Lyft hit off as companies here versus like, in other cities or in other parts of Canada. We're not really sure about the provincial or, municipal regulations when it comes to, something like Uber and Lyft.
Yeah.
But we do know that, for example, Toronto adopted it very early compared to the rest of Canada.
Yeah.
So I would say, like, starting a business, like you said, there are these programs that the local governments or municipal governments and provincial governments obviously provide to entrepreneurs like yourself who are starting something.
Yeah.
And you've gone to a niche market that's really, like you said, it was a gray area.
Yeah.
And tell us about the challenges from how you started, the ambition you had versus how is it going with COVID and all the things that have slowed us down today.
How much time do we have?
We have lots of time.
Oh my God. Okay. I'll start with a small challenge and then like a big challenge.
Sure.
The small challenge at the time. Okay. So way back in the gray days when I was a little young pickney.
Okay.
I graduated high school with an honors in computer science.
Nice.
Should have continued that.
Yes, should have. You make
because to know where we are today, and like how everybody's working from home and the technology and so should have continued in that space. But at the time, starting a subscription box business specifically for cannabis accessories was like nothing. Like the biggest subscription box company at the time was Birchbox.
Okay.
And they were doing it and doing it well.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, how am I going to, how am I going to build a website specifically for like reoccurring billing, charging people for subscription boxes, and then getting that out the door and onto them? How am I going to do something like that? There weren't that many platforms that were like push key ready to just like, okay, I got an idea, I want to put something together, let me just do it.
Yeah.
So I had to know a little bit of coding information, like coding knowledge.
Like, what do you like? Are you talking like PowerShell? Are you talking about automation? Are you talking like Shopify kind of platforms?
Right. So at the time, they didn't have like plugins for that in Shopify.
Okay.
So I had used a smaller company. I think they're much bigger now.
Okay.
They're called CrateJoy. This is not paid advertising.
No, this is not. This is fine. This is what we're actually basically here to give people information if they need to go open a business.
Yeah.
In any kind of thing, you just get, you're just giving the guidelines of how.
So CrateJoy, and they were really good at like if you're starting with the basics.
And this has started let's look at a timeline, 2016. 2016.
Yeah.
So 2016, cannabis was coming in, like the whole rumor about being legalization.
It was just rumors.
It was just rumors. There was no solid
if you're trying something, try it. If it works, it works.
Okay.
Right? So everything was a risk and a gamble.
Okay.
So I had to know a little bit of coding, a little bit of web development, a little bit of advertising. Mind you, I only know accounting.
Obviously,
But I have a commerce degree.
Yes.
I have family members that are entrepreneurs, but back on an island.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So how do I translate all of this into something functional?
Yeah.
I started with CrateJoy. They had a back end, a great back end, I should say.
Was it like a shopping cart and checkout kind of like?
It's like a Shopify, but specifically for subscription boxes.
Oh, okay.
Right, so it does all the reoccurring billing for you and all that jazz.
Yeah.
Then you connect it to like your payment processors.
Yeah.
It also had like a front end so that you could have a landing page and all that stuff, click-throughs.
Okay.
So it's good with that, but it's just the basics.
Yes, it's just the basics. Yeah, obviously, to have a website and have something checked out and multiple systems integrated, it is challenging. And especially you could put it live and everything, but then you don't get traffic. And that's right there. That's a big challenge.
But then again, where the little bit of coding information I needed to know how to plug in Google Analytics. I needed to know how to plug in Facebook and all that other jazz. Facebook hadn't done all the mergers that it had done now. Where you could like just put in like a click of a button and then it would link to your website.
It would promote your website.
Right.
And these are things that are obviously coming down the pipeline as kind of technology advanced. Especially, I think like, to be honest, things started advancing from 2010. Once the smartphones started like integrating inside, I know that they were coming in.
The computer on an iPad.
Yeah, the computer on an iPad. And obviously, you know, we kind of got to advance so much that data became critical.
Yeah.
And analytics became a big ATM to a lot of companies, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about how, okay, so you started the website, you got that, not Shopify, the other Greyjoy.
Yeah.
So they could do the subscription box for Smokers Digest.
Yeah.
And when you started, like, what was the traffic like on your website? Were people just curious, clicking here and there and kind of like walking away, not many checking out? You get stats, obviously.
Yeah.
You don't have to share the stats, but you could just give us an example of how it started.
Yeah.
And it kind of like, you saw kind of like little growth.
So, yeah, sure. So to get the word out there, again, because like I was operating like in a niche market, I use social media.
Okay.
Like Instagram. Yeah. I did the blast, like
promotional
promotional blast
through Instagram. Okay, perfect.
Yes. Also through Facebook. And then, you know, as we got closer to legalization, the gray area was like, we don't know if we could push this.
Okay.
Type of thing. And then I'm trying to cover all the basics of your question. So it started like I said with the basics. Yeah. The website started with the basics. And also the analytics were very basic. Okay. So having that back-end information, it was just like trial and error.
Yeah, of course.
So I would know, like I always had like an email subscription plugin on my website. Okay. So that I could, because that was my only way at the time. Yeah, of course. Knowing like my traffic. Trying
business, yes. You need to get data.
Yeah, and then too as well. Remember, like I was kind of green too. Yeah. So I didn't know what I needed to know. Okay. So every month it was like learning something new for myself. Okay. So I would use the emails signups to tell me if people were really interested, if they wanted to know more information, if they wanted to know, like that was how I was gauging traffic. Yeah. So yeah, the numbers were small in the beginning, obviously. Yeah. And then closer to legalization, like things were like blowing up.
So okay. So let's, if we think about things as a graph. So your website was going like kind of.
It was like this.
Moderation, and then once legalization boomed.
That year. Yeah.
That year, just that year, the 2018.
Like a couple months leading up to that. Up to 2018. Okay. Yeah, and I noticed like,
and it was going up, and people were into the whole subscription
I got to the point, and this is not a brag at all. It was just all of the fruits of my labor was paying off. Okay. So I got to the point whereby I had so many subscribers on a monthly basis that I was able to outsource my fulfillment. Okay. And I had another company doing like my packaging and shipping for me. Yeah. So yeah, it got to that point where I was able to do that and still recognize a profit, however small it was at the time. Yeah, a profit. Yeah. So yeah, that's where it was at the time. Things are much different now. Obviously.
Very different now. Yes, a lot of things have changed, and that's another reason why we started this. Like,
and so that was like the small challenge. Yeah. Now we're talking about big challenges.
Yes,
coming closer to the day when the fruits of my labor are supposed to pay off. Okay. October 2018. In February, at the end of February of that very same year, I had lost one of my biggest payment processes.
Okay. So when we're talking like February 2019 or
no, 2018.
Okay, so
the road to legalization.
Okay, the road to legalization. Okay.
I lost one of the biggest payment processes that I had attached to the website that was doing all of like my billing for me. Okay. And what that meant in reality was I couldn't take in any more orders, and the orders that I did have, because with subscription boxing, like I had people, they loved it so much. Like I had people buying 3 month, 6 month, and 12-month subscription plans well in advance. Yeah. And so because it's subscription boxes, you have to get inventory ahead of time. Yeah. Because when you buy in bulk, you get a discount as well. Yeah. It's more cost effective to do something like that, and then you distribute it out to your customers. Yes. And everything needs to be cost effective because subscription boxing is pretty much getting valuable products at a cheaper price in a bundle. And this is kind of like I guess it's not really a new business model. No. It's out there. It's been out there for a long time. Yeah. I would think even when Netflix started in 2000, that was the whole idea. Subscription.
That subscription, right? And now I mean, like Amazon's so big that you could get pasta every month to your home. So I'm thinking like Smokers Digest is the same idea, but on a smaller scale.
Yes. So I lost my biggest payment processor. And
what was the reason for that? Were they just moved, or they were sold, or they changed their policies?
Again, because people were moving into the not so gray area anymore. Everybody wanted to clean house.
Okay.
And because I was like, it was smoking accessories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it is for cannabis use. They're like, it's against our policy. Sorry.
Oh my God. Okay. So and then that was because
they were good about it though.
Yeah, they were good about it, and then obviously because that's the reason they could have been American as a company, or were they Canadian?
No, American.
Yeah, so they would have been under a lot of like California or some U.S. state law that would disallow them to operate such a business, or kind of have a supplier like yourself as a customer for them.
Yeah. So that was a big challenge, and that put me out of commission for a very long time.
Wow. Those are the hardest parts.
I took that personally, literally.
Okay.
I took it to heart, literally.
Yeah.
I ended up in the hospital the following week.
Wow.
With a cardiac episode and in need of emergency procedure.
Wow.
To operate on my heart.
Wow.
Because I took it to heart, literally.
Yeah, but that given
because that was my baby, you know. Like,
yes.
This is the year when I'm supposed to be realizing the fruits of my labor, and I'm like, oh, I gotta be sidelined. I got to take the bench. I got to take it out. But
let me ask you this. Were there other options on the table for payment processors at the time? Because we're talking like 4 or 5 years ago, a lot of things weren't as automatic as today or weren't as fast as today. A lot of services.
I got to be honest with you. I tried. I looked. There were stuff out there specifically because, like I said, people were gearing up for the legalization. There were companies that were coming out specific for that.
Yeah.
But because of the platform that I was on, trying to integrate that API, like that was above my pay grade.
Okay.
So to be honest, I didn't know which company I could trust because you just never know. Like they would be new in the industry as well.
Yeah.
And now here I am giving them like sensitive information for customers. Like I got to protect my customers too, you know?
Exactly.
So
yes. Yeah.
I preferred going with the big dogs.
Okay.
Just because like I know when it comes to like due diligence and all that other jazz, I'd be covered.
Yes.
And my customers would be covered.
Yeah,
so I didn't want to.
You got to be honest. I think like having a business in general, the whole idea is integrity is really important.
Yeah.
Integrity of your customers' data is really important.
Yeah.
Consumer data is really important. Consumer behavior is really important to you.
Yeah.
Kind of thing, right? And that really kind of outlines. That would have been a big, massive speed bump to have. Actually.
Big.
That would have been
that took me out for a while.
Yeah.
That was a devastating blow. I had to come out of pocket because I still wanted to give my customers what they paid for.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
And I still, because if I go out of business and I come back, I don't want them to be like, ugh, like you again.
You have a bad history.
Right.
You don't want to come back and you have a bad history about going, out of business before. And that's kind of like that. Yes.
And I don't want to leave them high and dry. Exactly. It took me so long to build this brand. Literally, you're going to lose your reputation in a night.
Yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I gotta gradually take myself off of this.
Okay.
And my doctors were like, gradual, you need to come off of this now. Like, you need to be stress-free. You need to focus on getting your health back in order.
Yeah.
That took me about 6 months of like rehabilitation, getting myself back together.
Wow.
And then from there, like the 6-month mark was September.
Oh, okay. So we're getting close to the start line. We're getting close to the start line. But speaking of that, like when you were, going through what happened with your payment processor in the States and them, saying, oh, sorry, we can't do this. It's kind of unethical or illegal business for us, whatever the cause was. And then you start having those health concerns or you went to the hospital, you went and you got treatment and all that. What was the thought process of what's next? What am I going to do next? And I'm in this shape. And I am in a shape that I can't go and move. And it would be very hard to motivate yourself. Yes. I think it would be extremely difficult. Yet people lose a job and they can go on for many months.
Yeah.
And so how is it that you still believed in the idea? And this is why I want to talk to people in Career Curiosity. This is the reason why. Because those times, the toughest times is the unheard of to get successful. You
know what? I think this is why these shark investors, they want new companies to have 2 people as partners. Okay. So that if one goes out of commission, the business could continue without a hiccup. Yeah. Right? In that regard is when I understood why. Because continuity is key. Right?
Of course.
while I was laying in the hospital bed, I literally was thinking about, okay, as soon as I get these things out of me, what am I going to do?
Okay.
And I'm hooked up to a machine that can literally tell, when your heart rate's increasing and all that jazz. And they would come in, they'd be like, what's going on here? Like, what's
Were
happening?
You like thinking, studying?
Yes, I was thinking it. And then as I'm thinking it, I could see like, my heart is getting excited and all that other jazz. And to them, they're still fearful because they don't know that's excitement.
Yes.
So, just had the conversation with them and, telling them about the day-to-day pressures that I was under and where I was trying to take myself personally and my business and all that jazz. And they're like, that's cool and all, but unless you want to be here in a body bag, you need to relax.
Yeah. And that's very important now. I think like having the understanding of health is really important.
Yes. Like it's very important, especially if you want to have a healthy business, you should have a healthy mindset and a healthy body.
Exactly. And then health brings happiness.
Yes.
And that translates. Business. Yeah, of course. Successful businesses bring happiness. The thing I find in general in small businesses is the hardest part is your money is like your gas.
Yeah.
You need that money incoming, like the revenue coming in, so that car can keep going. That car can keep going, right? And it's very difficult. Obviously, having normal lives and normal day-to-day jobs and what industry you're in, it's probably hectic because there's a lot of financial movement. But not get into that really. But I would say that probably puts a toll somehow on you as an accountant, and at the same time, I think that puts a toll, but a toll is preferable than a toll, I would say.
Than a costly toll.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So how I overcame that. At the time, like I said, I really had to sit that one out.
Yeah.
When legalization came about, like I was just sitting on the bench, like, oh, I'm supposed to be celebrating and happy. Oh, I'm supposed to be like jazzed up that this has finally come and the fruits of my labor are just, gonna be bared out for everybody to see. And I couldn't. Like I had to take that L. I had to sit that one out and try and refocus and see how I'm going to bring this back in order while also taking care of myself personally.
Yeah.
I got to be honest with you, that day when legalization hit, like I smiled, I chuckled, and then I cried.
Oh, wow.
Because I was not a part of it. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what I had been working night and day for the last 2 years for.
So you've pretty much built a good foundation.
Yeah.
But that foundation
got
took
rocked.
a lot.
Yeah. I took a beating. I took a beating.
You took a beating.
Yeah.
You took a beating on your health. You took a beating on your probably personal finances.
Yes.
And that's normal. There's it's never greener on the other side. We all want to get to the top. And everybody wants to do so, and it's just part of human nature.
I feel like there are a lot of resources online that tells you how to run a successful business.
Yeah.
Not telling you, hey, if you have this and X, Y, and Z hiccup, here's how you deal with it.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean?
Nobody gives you that.
And nobody can actually follow that plan and be like, I had a successful business because I followed these 10 steps.
Yeah.
Like, there's something that's going to happen. So for me, like when I was younger, my dad always used to say, if you go to somebody and they tell you no, that does not mean that you should stop doing what you're doing because you got to know. Yeah. That just means that person was either incapable or unable to give you the yes. There are tons of other people out there. Go find the yes, but keep on going.
Okay.
So once I got...
And it's normal. You get so many no's till you get one yes, and that one yes could be a gold mine.
Yep, that pays off.
One yes could be a failure, but you still got a yes, and you still insisted on what you're doing. And I like the persistence that you've had. Like, I mean, you didn't stop at some point where you were just like, oh, well, you know what? It's taken a toll on me personally. It's taken a toll on my body. Yeah. I should give it up. I'm not really getting into this. Yeah. But how far do you want to go? And that how far you want it to go keep you going even when you're on your knees?
So, okay. While I was still down, it wasn't like I wasn't doing any work.
Okay.
I was like, if I come back, I need to come back 10 times bigger, 10 times stronger.
Okay.
So I was creating like a new look for the website on the back end. Like it wasn't live. I was tweaking it, building content, like building a new look for like the box, the web page, everything.
Yeah.
And as a positive like affirmation of you should keep going, girl. I had some of my old customers like email me or reach me out to me on like social media or however best they were doing it at the time.
Yep.
And they're like, hey, are you guys coming back? Hey, is this like gone for good? Like, we loved your stuff. When can we purchase again?
Yeah.
That to me like was like, okay, you got something still. and you
Okay.
should keep going because there are people who
Came back.
I felt like
Customers who came
I built a
back,
little bit of a
loyalty.
community.
Yes.
Yeah.
Loyalty, community, whatever you call
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it. I think it's customer loyalty. And
Yeah.
you know what? Honestly speaking, from a retail perspective, and I can tell you this, if people love something,
Yeah.
they will buy it.
Yeah.
That's just the bottom line of business.
Yeah.
If the people like
And
the
if you give them
product-
good customer
and
service.
if you give them a good
I
customer service,
think that's so important.
good
Yeah.
customer rapport, these are all basic skills. But I think you're building what you're building out of love, out of passion, out of desire.
I love gifting.
Yes.
Like outside of this is like my way to make money for like giving people presents.
Yes.
I love like putting a smile on somebody's face. I love like I'm that friend that listens to something that you said like months ago when you're like, oh, that's a limited edition like sneaker or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, I'm gonna go and find out how I can get this limited edition sneaker just so I can see like that just gasses me up like when I can see a smile on somebody's face.
So do you surprise your parents a lot with gifts? And,
like right now, my parents still think I'm coming home for the Christmas.
Are you going home for Christmas?
No. I had to tell my mom because she kept looking. One day she came home early and she's like, oh, I called you earlier and you didn't answer, so I thought you were on a plane. So I came home. And so I was like, Mama, I don't mean to like let you down, but I don't want to burst your bubble. I'm not coming home like legit. Like we're in a pandemic.
The pandemic.
I'm not moving right now. So
pandemic has really caused a lot of things to change.
Yes.
Even like thought process.
Yeah.
Like we were like, honestly speaking, let's go to, sorry to take you off topic, but like look at the years before the pandemic hit. Look at anything before 2020 came.
Yeah.
Or it's just like, I felt like things were just like hamster in the wheel.
Yeah.
We were all just like doing this.
Yeah. I feel like I can't even remember what we were doing before. Like and this year has been like, I feel like I lived 10 years in this 1 year. Like every month was a year.
Exactly. You were alone. You were sitting home. Everything was shut down.
And then the movements.
Walmart was like going to the movies. Honestly, I was in a lineup as if the next, like, I don't know, Keanu Reeves movie was out.
Yeah.
Outside the store.
The line
and it's gone back to now. It's gone back to that now. It's a very concerning virus. I'm not making fun, but I just like kind of like take the humor out of it where we're standing in lineups and we've been standing in lineups for all our lives to get into bars and clubs and things like that.
This
and now it's now this is a different
You have
kind
to go for a line for the bread and the water that you need to make dinner tonight.
Your survival kit.
Yeah. But yeah, people's safety is paramount. So
it is paramount.
I hope that we can get out of it, however long it takes. Hopefully not that long.
Hopefully it's not that long. I'm anticipating a little longer, but that's just my personal opinion.
But I know we won't ever go back to like what yesterday used to look like.
No, I think it's an era changing.
Yeah,
it's an era changing dynamic.
2020 is one way to start a whole new era.
It's one way, and I think, like, for example, I know given the retail business that have kind of lost a lot of like traffic, human traffic that came into the malls, went into retail stores, things like that. A lot of them had to adapt to kind of the online world.
Yeah, like a lot of companies that I just used to Google their names sometimes just to see if they had like a website. Like a lot of them still didn't have a website even in the 2000s. You think every company would have a website. Now, like everybody and
is
their
jumping
grandmother,
on that wedding because that wagon because that wagon because what has happened, the world has really dramatically changed.
Yeah. Everybody has a package coming to their door.
Exactly.
Like as I was leaving, even when I was driving up to here, like I was driving past houses and like everybody has a package just waiting on their door.
Of course, it's Christmas time.
When you would run home and you'd meet the mailman at the door, like now it's just a thing. Like, oh, my package is just home. It's going to be there.
Yeah.
And when I get there, I'll get it.
And you're going to be home.
Yeah.
You're going to be home anyways. So,
so it's such a change in time.
So now I think it's different. I think now it's more about, businesses are going to go more storage and inventory and whatever base they have. And then they're going to do like the last mile, and then they're going to do subscription model. Last mile meaning like I can store something somewhere, and then last mile I get a contractor to drive it. And I'm sure a lot of online companies are going to do that.
Yeah.
Because I think it kind of takes out the liability of delivering that box. The liability
through
goes
a third
to somebody.
party.
Yeah, through a third party.
Yeah.
And, and it also saves time because that company, for example, a courier company is usually specialized in delivering parcels where then you just have a warehouse, you have a pickup truck and somebody picks up or a transport truck even, and they just transfer the inventory through to customers. I mean, there are benefits of kind of not being in that hamster in the wheel. I know that, a lot of people's businesses went south, and a lot of, not south meaning location, but I think just went really, they're hurt. And a lot of people are hurt, and I'm sure
it's rough.
Nobody wants to be hurt. And I'm sure that we all want our businesses to succeed as entrepreneurs, as humans. We want to be successful. It's like the dopamine of life is to be successful, right? So that's very important. So going, as you get to the start line, once it got legalized, how did you do then? So you came out of the hospital, you got out.
Yeah. So like I said, I was out of commission for a couple months. And then, so after that, it was trying to rebuild.
Okay.
Trying to automate as much as possible.
Okay.
Because it was a fulfillment center that was ongoing. I had, a writer as well for like the content and helping me out with like the email customer like queries and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And then like everything had to just be a one-woman show again.
Yeah.
So I had to go back to the basics. But this time around, I'm like, every mistake that I made before, everything that could be considered a failure before, every hiccup that I had before, I need to iron those out now. So
here's the thing. Some of the mistakes you've made.
Yeah.
Did you take them back? Like, did you learn from them?
Oh, yeah.
When you learned from them.
I had a, this is my mistake. I like wrote them all out.
Okay.
Like every single mistake that
so
I
you
possibly
enlisted
made.
all your
Everything.
mistakes.
Even if it hurt me personally, I'm like, even if it was something that was a negative trait of mine personally, like taking things the wrong way.
Okay.
I'm like, I'm writing that down. I'm going to find a way, like if I have to go do yoga this week, just to learn how to cope with those type of things. Like I need to learn how to mitigate every single one of those issues.
Yeah.
And then I just tried to automate as much as possible. So like even buying inventory well in advance so that I just have boxes ready to go out the door when customers order their boxes. And then I also automated my email marketing. So like well in advance, like I have it time triggered. Okay. So like every Friday you should get like some valuable content. And it's just not like I stopped doing the buy this, buy that, buy this, and then buy that model to let me provide you with valuable content because I wanted to convert into a lifestyle brand. Yeah. So I needed you to know how you could infuse your cannabis. Sorry. I wanted to know how you could infuse your cannabis into your daily life. Okay. So either in your topical creams if you're an athlete. Yeah. If you want to cook with it. Yeah. Are we talking like THC or are we talking CBD? Both. Both. Okay. And then teaching you the difference between the two. Yeah. Because a lot of people like the old school people will be like, oh, it's just cannabis. It's weed. Marijuana. Yeah. You smoke it and you're high. Yeah. Right. Yeah. And then some people, you can, for me, I would know if somebody doesn't know the difference. If they're like, oh, that was a bad weed. Like, I didn't feel anything. Well, then that means you had CBD. You know what I mean? Like, being able to teach somebody the difference and the effects that it'll have on you. Yeah.
But it's also like the consumers that I would say consumer cannabis. Yeah. It's a different market. Yeah. It's not, I don't know if it was frowned upon when it first started. Yeah. Or
even where I'm from, like that being a Rasta, all of those things were like, I mean, I still feel like it's a bit taboo. Yeah. Because we ourselves as a country are now on the pathway to legalization. Okay. Which is like 10 years behind. Yeah. But, it's.
So how do you face the scrutiny that comes with that? Like, how do you face the controversial? Yeah, it's a very you stepped into something that's very challenging to it because there's already
and male dominated.
And male dominated, yes. Obviously, yes. That could be that's a big factor actually in the way and any not any business. I don't want to generalize, but in that sector probably would have been male dominated.
I feel like I was lucky. To be honest with you, because whenever I do something, I don't like to half-ass it.
So
if somebody sees me doing something and if I'm like broadcasting it, because I'm a behind-the-scenes girl. Like this is my first interview or on-camera stuff.
No, this is cool. This is you know what? This is basically what we're here is to make you enjoy the experience. Yeah, that's it.
Right, and we have history. You're my friend, so I'm comfortable with you in that regard. That's good. So only you could pull me out of the dark and be like, hey, put these cameras in your face. But I feel like I was lucky in that regard because I don't like to half-ass anything. So if I talk about something or if I tell somebody outside of my 100 personalities, they know that I'm not joking about it. I didn't face any, I knew that I was making a bit of a change for the good when my mother was like, oh, cannabis is just a plant. Versus her yesteryear, she would call it dope, and she'd be like, that's for like da 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 da, and you're a criminal. Like she was not having it.
Okay.
And then I noticed, like as time would go on, she'd be like, oh, and I was teaching her about it, and she's like, oh, I heard one of my girlfriends say that you could use this for X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
Right? Like she herself became more in tune with it. So I'm like, okay, I might be onto something good. But yeah, I think like with anything, when you're breaking like a public's perception about something, you're gonna be hit with backlash. Like I'm not gonna act like everything was peaches and cream, because it wasn't.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? You have to be patient with people.
Yes.
And meet them where they're at. So I would listen to people, hear what they thought the stigma was, and then just try and drop off some information, like just to educate as well. And that was part of the brand too.
Okay, so content was really important. What you did, like the content and the newsletters or the subscription, not the boxes, but just information that you were providing to your day-to-day consumer, if there was, and that's a pretty good idea, because it's pretty much like your consumers are going to be the same. I think, like when it comes to especially cannabis, and I don't want to generalize. I'm not a PhD in economics or anything, but I think I know like how like each niche market works. Yeah. And I think like, customers, specifically when it comes to cannabis, usually people want to have a good time. Yeah. They want to be mellow. They want to have fun. They want to, some cannabis products make you like lazy. Obviously there's a downside to that, but also at the same time, some of them make you happy, and people like to relax, and people like to enjoy their time. And I think given what you guys are selling, or what Smokers Digest is selling, I think it's like, how do you find your customer base? Like, do you find it good for like, as an individual owning a business, or do you find it like a little challenging, or do you find it like you're overwhelmed by all the expectations from customers? How do you handle that?
In the beginning, I was overwhelmed for sure.
Okay.
I would have like the heavy hitters, and then I would have like the people who were just beginners and wanted like to gradually get into the space. Okay. So then I had like 3 subscription box levels. Yeah. Something, that's friendly on the pocket, and then something that's for people who are actual connoisseurs. Okay. People who want the nice pipe work, people who want the nice like item wood technology infused into it. And then that in of itself became tedious, trying to give out good boxes every single month for 3 different levels. Okay. Now it's just one size fits all. Yes. Not to make it sound that way, but now it's for people who. It's not just for people who know what they want, because again, I do have people who just want to learn a little bit and they want to get into that space. Yeah. But a lot of my customers, they love a little bit of tech. They love a little bit of design inside of it. So right down to the type of pipes that I carry, like I carry like the heavy borosilicate glass pipes, with quality like designs. I also carry like vaporizers that you can have an app to like change the settings on them. Okay. So everything is like cannabis, technology, and design. Okay. That's what I'm big on in terms of the products themselves. Yeah. And then on the other side of it, in terms of like the content, I am venturing more into like, how can you infuse this into like your meals? Okay. So I sell the cookbooks as well, So
are you kind of like turning it from like a base product to more interesting product for your customer base, or are you doing it just for awareness mainly? Like
all of the above. All of the above. I want to be able to. Because cannabis is a niche market in and of itself. I don't want to go extra niche in the niche market. Okay. So I still want to be able to educate you, entertain you, and supply you with valuable goods. Okay. Yeah.
So how is it like when the technology got involved in cannabis accessories? How did that kind of go like with your suppliers, or was that stuff already there, like all the stuff like the pipes and all the technology that's involved and engineered through those pipes? So how did it evolve all of a sudden after 2017? We said October 2018. Yeah. So October 2018, did it kind of evolve?
Yeah. So at the time, and not to talk too much of my business.
Yeah,
literally.
yeah. That's fine. That's all right.
There weren't that many distributors.
Okay.
You know, me, I like to do everything by the books.
Yes.
Like I sign deals to actually be an authorized seller.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
So there weren't that many companies that were even out there to be like authorized distributors.
Okay.
After that, and again, one of like the major big things that I did when I first was starting out was I went to the Lift.co conference. So
Okay.
every year they put on a conference in Vancouver and Toronto.
Okay.
It's for businesses and consumers alike.
Okay.
And it's one big, massive like conference to like educate people about products and like the newest thing.
We're talking about like the cannabis industry?
Yes,
specifically for cannabis.
Yeah.
What was it called again?
The company's called Lift.
Lift. Okay.
Lift.co.
Okay.
And just getting on that list, like that was my first big move, and that was
that's like the Comic-Con of cannabis.
Yes,
that specific event. That's
and it
just
was
a Comic-Con.
it was very expensive, like the most expensive thing that I had ever done
to
date to get on this list.
Yeah.
And just showcase my brand at this conference. And when I had launched officially, when I first started, the next conference was going to be for that year in Vancouver.
Okay.
Never been on the West Coast.
Wow.
So little old me packing up like all of my products and like my booth and all this other jazz.
Wow.
Going to Vancouver because I am like, I got to go showcase my business and get the word out there. Talking about like one of the other challenges now. So luckily for me, one of my cousins lived in Vancouver at the time.
Nice.
And he's like a big cannabis enthusiast.
Okay.
So he was like my support system. He was like, yeah, girl, I got you. Let's go. We went to the cannabis conference, to the showcase, had our booth set up and everything. And then the reception was great.
Nice.
Like everybody was like, "Oh my God, I just was thinking about this with my guy, and here you are." And we were thinking about a business model like that, and we didn't think it would work. And like we're so happy to see somebody out here doing it.
I just got sorry to interrupt you, but here's the thing: what was your expectation going to that conference?
I didn't have any.
You didn't have any?
No, I didn't.
Did you feel like you were gonna go out there, but not really? Kind of like because sometimes like. My personality specifically, I'm very like scared to do these things.
Yeah.
So how like the fear level? What was it like?
I'll tell you this much.
Okay.
So when I look back at those pictures, I cringe. Just a little bit. Just to see the packaging, to see the setup. And I guess that's a good thing because that shows how much I've improved since then.
Okay.
When I went there though, like that whole spiel that I gave you just now where they were like, oh, we're so excited to like see this brand and see this type of business model in the cannabis space. They were all having this conversation with my cousin, who is a man. And they thought he was the business owner because he is a man.
Wow.
And he would just stand there and
just
he would
typical
smile.
Stereotype.
It's fine though. It's fine.
It's fine.
Because then I got to see their true reaction.
Of people.
No, of the brand.
Okay.
Yeah, because they're talking to who they think owns the brand, right?
Okay.
So he's listening, he's smiling, he's nodding, and he would like, politely let them finish.
Yeah.
And then they would be like, oh, here's my business card. And he would just stand with his hand in his pocket and they were like, what? And he was like, and that's the business owner. And they would turn around, they'd look, and they'd be like, oh.
Would they actually come and talk to you? Like, did you did you do a little bit of networking there and you kind of like got to know more people?
Yes.
And it probably would have been like these events I find very very knowledgeable and informative.
Yeah.
And you could go with success or failure on either or. Like, it's not like, oh, I'm going to go there and it's just going to be turning into Hollywood all of a sudden. You know, it's not going to do that.
No.
There's no business in the world.
No, you're not going to hit. Well, you never know. Things do go viral now with the internet.
Yeah.
But back then, like I said, it's still a while back then. So it wasn't like the viral
what year was
sensation
this,
kind
like,
of thing.
When was this? Because I know BC have been, like, Vancouver has been, like, kind of, like, accepting to, like, cannabis in general.
I'm probably going to mess up the dates, but I think it was September 2016.
So it was like 2 years before legalization. So you were operating or you were trying to brand.
But I wanted the exposure.
You wanted the exposure.
Even though we're in the gray area because you needed to build a community first.
Yeah,
because when it's time to pull the trigger, who are you going to pull this trigger to?
But here's the thing. Well, what if it never went legalized? That's another question that would have been very tough to handle. But you would have been exposed to other things, even if
somehow something was going to be. And I'm not trying to be overly optimistic about what was going to be.
Yeah.
But something like either it was going to turn into a cooking channel or something that would
gonna
allow me to use
so there
this
was
information.
like an ultimate product,
right?
That was
or even if this was just a big, massive like research undertaking, I would be able to give that information to somebody, some brand, some bigger company, or whatever, or just chuck it up to a good time.
It's very true. Like I think there's always lessons, and there's always challenges, and there's always success, but those are a big combination of things. There's a big combination between everything, and the exposure that you got in BC would have been probably a big, I would say, like experience.
It is.
It was a different experience. You got to see something else. You got to see another side of the country.
Yes.
That was probably the minimum that you would have seen, like Stanley Park in Vancouver. Did you go to BC? Like when you went, did you go to Stanley Park? Or
I didn't do anything.
You didn't do it. You were just so focused on
the business.
Smokers Digest.
You know why? Let me tell you why. Because and thank goodness it happened the way it happened. Because of the conference, a lot of people were coming up, and I don't want to say because I was a female. I just think because this was something that was on other people's minds.
Yeah,
they were like so excited. Like a lot of them were sending. A lot of the reps that were there on behalf of the companies, they called up their bosses and they was like, hey, this is here, X, Y, and Z. And then the bosses then came down the next, because it was a 2-day
two-day conference.
The next day the bosses came down and then they were like, hey, I heard about you, shaking hands, let's have a meeting.
Okay.
I literally was having meetings up until the time it was time for me to go to the airport and come back to Toronto.
Nice.
So it was good in that regard. It paid off in that aspect.
And so it paid, and networking does pay off. Honestly, if you know people and you came up with something very niche and it's very different, I would say, because I would never think that I would know cannabis, for example.
I would never think I would have been in this space. I was just a plain Jane green girl.
But it's a good idea. Yeah. It's a good idea. You went to the market.
For me, because I was in business, I'm like, it's something to invest in. Like, I just want to be an early buyer of something. Yeah.
Okay.
And I was like, let me try this out. And if it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
But you learn. There's no way. There's no way. You know what? There's no regrets. Honestly, yes, regrets you do feel like, we feel down, we feel depressed. We could get to that. Yeah. But I don't think there's anything to regret, because I think you go through a bad experience. Yes, it does hurt like crazy.
Like a bitch.
Yeah, like a bitch, yeah. It does hurt like crazy. It does hurt. And any bad kind of, whether it's a business, a relationship, a job loss, all of that just really builds up a lot. But it's kind of like also somehow it's a blessing in disguise.
It was.
You know what I mean? So starting that, you started it very early to my like, very,
to everybody's
early.
surprise.
Yeah. And then, things were just up in the air for like, I would say like cannabis has been in Canada for a long time. But I think just having it legally was just something that I never thought this day would kind of come. And I never thought that your products would come.
Really?
Smokers Digest. But I didn't think.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of also like a person like me. I smoke shisha, right? I smoke shisha. I love shisha, which is like hookah, and you put the grape mint and stuff like that. But now there's so much accessories in it. Like it used to be just a pipe. And I think that's what kind of like what's interesting.
The catalyst of it.
No, actually, you were you guys started this whole accessory smoke. Like, cannabis started all these smoking accessories, right? And I think that kind of took on the hookah market or the shisha market. But there's so many things. There's like, there's many different types of coal.
So you're saying I should probably get into the shisha market next.
Maybe you should get into the shisha market.
Okay, got it. Noted.
maybe small little shisha.
Shisha
feel like a smoke
shisha on the go.
Yeah, shisha on the go. Feel like a smoke. We've invented this organic coal. And there we go.
Okay, we're on to something. Putting it out into the universe.
Putting it out. No, but I think a lot of industries have really changed. I mean, engineering has been as important as it is for cannabis accessories, as well as it has been for any other market. I think any tangible product requires a lot of engineering.
Yeah.
And from the pipe itself to the box that it's designed, to the logo, and this is what I want to know. Like, how did you come up with the logo, the name? I know I'm kind of assuming that the Smokers Digest was like because you loved the Reader's Digest magazine as a child, or so you saw it in the supermarket. Because that's something that we all probably saw, even regardless of where you grew up in the world. It was at every supermarket. The Reader's Digest, the Smokers Digest is kind of like off that.
Guilty. Correct. Yeah, because I knew I didn't want it to be just a subscription box model
Okay.
the whole way through.
Yeah.
Like I knew I wanted to evolve, but little old me only could start off somewhere,
Small,
right?
yes.
You have to start small and then, get your footing after that. So I wanted to leave room for growth, and I needed
Okay.
the name to be able to grow as well. Because, once you get your brand awareness, you don't want to be changing the brand name.
No.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
that's part of the brand awareness.
And how does branding work? Like brand awareness, you create a brand and then you kind of like market, or you kind of like how does it work, and does it take a lot of research? I'm not asking you to answer them, like, but how much research do you do towards branding, towards marketing, especially that you're on your own, you're a sole proprietary, or what do they call it in the accounting world? There's sole and partnership. I don't know.
There's a sole proprietor.
Proprietor.
There's partnership. Then you
So
can incorporate
as a sole, so you've created this from the ground up.
Yeah.
Right. And so you did a lot of research.
Yes.
And kind of like things changed as you did research.
Oh, yeah.
Because data changed.
Even up to now, like I had to go and relearn a lot of things. Like I would sit down at home, I'd take a day out just to learn the whole entire act.
Okay.
The Cannabis Act now that's out in Canada.
Okay.
Which is like multiple pages. I would bookmark things, highlight things. I'm like, because I want to, like, I like doing things by the book. I want to make sure all my grounds are covered.
Yeah.
Even down to shipping, like I had to read Canada Post's policy on Canada.
So they changed their policies on cannabis. Cannabis accessories, or just cannabis in general?
Like the whole thing, like delivering it, because everybody wants a piece of the pie. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So you still need to have like practices and policies in place, so that you can cover your own bases too as a company. I'm talking about those outside companies, not mine.
Yes. Yeah.
So I need to learn every business that I need to make sure my business can function. I need to read all of their policies now.
And you went through all that manually, like you didn't get like people, hey,
no,
I'm hiring a legal advisor here.
Because you still should know.
A legal counsel there. Yeah, you still should know.
You still should know. Because if you hire them, they are advising you on what they just read. So you still would need to know. Yeah.
And how much time do you spend reading like these things? How much time did you spend on research? Just the laws. How like is it? Do you feel like they were complex? Do you feel like they were kind of straightforward when you read them, when you went through them? And
reading the Canadian version was more straightforward than the American one.
Okay.
Yeah, and because America has like
they're different.
States,
they're very different. They have state laws, and they have federal laws, and Canada's a little different. Once something is kind of given the legalization federally, it's like kind of easier to kind of smooth.
Yeah. So for me, you know how people would go into the store, buy a magazine, then they'll flip through that magazine or buy a book that's coming out and read through that.
Yeah.
Reading practices and policies was my going to the bookstore and buying books and sitting down with a nice cup of coffee and be like, it's getting exciting.
It's not a story. It's not a story. You're just reading policies.
You better do this or you can't find.
Yeah.
So that was my to-do. The first time around, I spent about 6 months researching everything and gathering all the things I needed to get the business going.
Yeah.
And then when I relaunched and rebranded to do the second iteration of the business, I spent about 3 months.
3 months?
Yeah.
Like 3 whole months, you're just doing research on laws, policies.
Yes.
It's not easy. It's not an easy
And
gig.
then planning my content and how I'm going to move next. And am I still in scope if I want to add this into it? And you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the marketing thing is still a little bit sketchy.
Yes.
Like nowadays, trying to get like the brand awareness out there is kind of harder.
So with Instagram and Facebook,
it's a no-go. If it's not educational, it's a no-go.
So here's your company. So Canada it's legal to have cannabis products in Canada.
Yeah.
As long as you're kind of following the policies and procedures,
the limits and
all that stuff.
Yeah.
But then, so Instagram and Facebook, which are American operated platforms, do they allow you guys to like
if it's educational?
Yeah.
Yes.
You can push through the information or data.
And you know what? To be honest, sometimes I just click the button to see if they would allow me to push it through.
Okay.
To see where my gray area line is.
Oh, okay.
And then whenever I'm doing like product advertisement, it's a no-go. If I'm saying THC is X, Y, and Z, or CBD is X, Y, and Z, or the plant will look like this, and that will tell you if it's male or female.
Okay.
That's educational.
That's educational.
Right? You're not selling educational.
Yeah, they're not,
that doesn't get a red flag.
That doesn't get a red flag. But just
unless things have changed overnight. I don't know.
Well, I haven't checked anything regarding that in a while, to be honest.
But like on the drive here,
yeah,
I was listening to the radio, and they were outright advertising a dispensary with the word cannabis in it.
And they didn't beep it out.
They didn't beep it out.
So
but last
really
month when I was in the car, they beeped it out. And they alluded to what type of business they were advertising. And then they spelt out the name of the company and the website.
On the radio.
On the radio. Not say it. They spell it out.
Yeah.
Because kids who are 5 years old, I guess, don't know how to.
Yeah,
I'm just joking.
No, you can't.
It's very important.
Yeah, you have to know, like, when you're radio waving audience, it's different. You got to be careful. Because I've seen incident happen in Halifax. I was driving from, like, Halifax to Dartmouth. And I remember I was on the radio, and somebody called, and they were like, so they called two people who are partners. Yeah. And they're like, if you both say where you had sex the last time, like as a married couple, right? Okay. So they would call the person, and he would say in the kitchen, for example, right? Okay. And they called the wife, right? She said something that was not expected at all, and I just saw the reaction of people around me, because it's like I don't remember the channel, but I remember it happened. Yeah. And I would have been like 2013, 2014, sometime around there, and I remember I was laughing because he said in the kitchen and she said in the ass. And then they went, and it kind of like they didn't win the trip, but the radio had to play music right away because things just like
they didn't win the trip.
Yeah, like
they want a trip, but not the trip.
Yeah, so it's kind of like weird, and I kind of find humor in these things, like accidental like accidental sayings on the radio or things like that. But it's funny, and I mean, like the UK, for example, is one of the places where I listen to some of the radio stations. Everything is there. Like when they advertise something, it's always like there's this little guy in the bottom of like the end of he's like giving all the policies.
Super fast?
Yeah, super fast. Super fast.
Like he's at an auction.
It's like so super fast that it's like wow, it's like a different world out there. Because here it's kind of like more what you see is what you get kind of thing. There's no the government doesn't really allow these little dotted lines or blueprints at the bottom or flight print at the bottom. Everything's kind of obvious.
It has to be out,
and I think we're living in an era of like clear conscience and transparency as well. But at the same time, when I see things like that in the UK, I kind of think maybe they're a little different. Maybe they're just too straightforward to the point, or maybe they just get so many hustlers that they just have to identify these things, right? That's just a different way. It's a different world. It's a different world.
It is.
It is a different. I mean, I hear people call the radio and they get like hung up on and stuff like that. That doesn't really happen here in Canada.
No,
people are nice here. Generally, Canada's a nice place.
Canada, the land of the niceties.
Yeah, a lot of the niceties. But at the same time, there's challenges when you have a business, right? And it's not so nice anymore. It's kind of like you got to do the work. You got to do the grind, right? Yeah. So that's part of it.
It's not meant for everybody, and for that reason, it's meant to have its challenges. It's like literally built for the tough.
It's built for the tough and hard. Yes, it's not. I don't think
you have to be sure with what direction you want to go in.
And I'll be honest with you, I will never own my business.
Really?
I will never.
But this is in a way business.
This is just a platform that I want to people. Seriously.
Modest.
No, I'm not being modest. Honestly, I can never own a business. I can never I tried to open up my own company last year. Yeah. And I kind of it went for 5 weeks. And I kind of it's not for me. To be honest,
but you know what? I feel like if it's not something that you're passionate about or something that doesn't come naturally, I love gifting, so this makes sense.
This makes sense.
You are really good at talking.
I'm very good at talking.
And doing accents.
And doing different accents.
So you would be a great radio personality.
The accents if you want through that. The interview kind of make people nuts.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah.
No, but I think I tried having the own business. I tried actually having multiple businesses. They require a lot of work, and I'm not lazy or anything, but if it's not something that I enjoy doing, I kind of tend to kind of walk away from it. And I got to the point where my business was stressing me out. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't really enjoying it. And things were just I couldn't breathe. Yeah. And I think you got to that when you were in the hospital too.
I literally couldn't. So.
Yeah, I know. But then you got out of it. And then Smokers Digest didn't like walk away and kind of come back. No, it just stayed there all that time.
Yeah, and I told my customers and everything too. Like transparency is important for me because I don't want you to. Yeah, and I am like for personal reasons and medical and all that other jazz. And I got people who emailed me afterwards and it's like, because they still don't have a face to it. I feel like this will be the first time people will see who owns Smokers Digest.
Nice.
So they still haven't faced. So they're just like, take your time. We appreciate what you've done. Like, yada, yada, yada. Hope when you come back strong.
Okay.
But yeah, it was like a lot of emails about
Was there a lot of support from that community, like your customer community? Was there like a lot of like, not the emotional support obviously was there. They sent, they're making sure you're okay. But do you feel like when you came back, people were like, okay, I'm buying Smokers Digest. I'm buying her. I feel for that person. Or did you feel
I don't know. To be honest with you, I can't tell that information.
You can't tell. Because it was just mainly emails that people were just sending you to make sure you're okay. You weren't getting like phone calls.
No. Because at the time there's no company line. So who are you gonna call?
Yeah.
Unless you actually know who owns the business.
Yeah.
So I'd get emails and then like people inbox in or DM whatever social media platform there was out that I was on. But yeah, of course, like there are naysayers as well too.
Yeah.
And then, not taking those things personal. I know when it's like your own business, you're more than likely, you're going to take things personal because it's your baby, right?
Yeah, of course.
Especially if you're like the sole proprietor of it.
Yeah.
What you put out is representative of like what your brand is and who you are. So you're going to take that personal. But because of everything that happened, like, let me tell you, like things would like bounce off of me and bounce right back off.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm I can't, you got to take it with a grain of salt.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't let it like get the best of me because I already know what that could do to me. Right?
So wait, get the best of you, like getting do you mean getting the worst of you or getting
like,
the best of you?
Sorry. I didn't want it to get the worst of me again.
Okay.
If it was like negative feedback or people being like, oh my God, or you're gonna get negative.
Yeah.
Feedback regardless.
You're dealing I think in any consumer space in general.
Anything related to customers, you're not going to be able to please everybody, period.
There's no way.
That's in life. I remember like one time I had done like this theme where like it was supposed to be like this comfy cozy like month.
Yeah.
And so like I had like a coffee mug that was a bong.
Okay.
It was in the shape of a coffee mug, but like you could smoke from it on the side handles and all jazz.
Yeah.
I also had the cannabis socks in there, like that had the marijuana leaf on it.
Yeah.
I had the toilet paper
that was
that was imprinted with like cannabis leaves.
Oh,
right?
Nice. Okay. How is that? Like, Like,
exactly.
Do people wear it? Doesn't
everything went well until people open up the tissue, and some people would be like, I got one email in particular where a customer was like, oh my God, this box is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Like outright.
Yeah.
Like it's like, how dare you put toilet tissue inside of this box, inside of a cannabis box? But like it's following like a comfy cozy theme. Right?
Yeah.
And it had cannabis imprinted in the roll of tissue.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I just wanted to like, it was a novelty box. It was like in the least expensive box.
But did you communicate that like as part of your branding that this was going to be
so
this,
I emailed that person back.
Yeah.
I contacted them and told them what was meant to be like the theme of it. Like I even have content cards, and on the content cards it tells you. You know what I mean? But again, I get like people's reception. So I explained what it was, and I told them, I gave them examples of like what Susie and Sally's feedback was and what John and Peter's feedback was.
Okay.
And when they were like, and when they read that, they emailed me back and they're like, oh, I get it.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? It's like, I just thought you were being like, just throwing stuff in there.
Yeah.
But I get that it's meant to be comfy cozy and like, this is part of it. I get it now, and I'm sorry, but yeah, some people you just talk to them just like how like you talk to any other.
So, and I think that's kind of like where it comes to like we're in 2020. I mean, the last maybe 5 years we've had a shift in technology, and I think a lot of people are not communicating as they want. No, actually, a lot of more people are purely communicating. Actually, like you can communicate to your customers as if you are another customer, really. If you think about it, like you're asking, you're talking to them in a normal tone. It's not like it's like dear customer. There's no dear customer. There's no formal way of communication because at the end of the day, you are your own shop
Yeah.
and you kind of want to deal with people the same touch. You're not a big corporation where you got like, all kinds of instances happening, and
Yeah.
you might have one or two. And I don't think it's easy to please everybody. And I think especially when you're picked, well, they're not picked, but when you like specifically sell a product to customers, I think consumer behavior plays
Yeah.
a lot with it. And then, especially with your line of business, someone makes a better pipe, someone will just go
Yep.
there. And maybe the idea of the box is like the good idea of it. The whole subscription box
Yeah.
is good, but I think also like it's good if it's a reasonable price. That's
Yes.
like from my perspective, that
Yeah.
would be something
So
that
that honestly, most of my challenges came from the audience from the least expensive box.
okay.
Like that's where I was getting most of the hiccups because, um, if you're paying $49.99 a month and you're being told that the value is $60, people want the value to be
60
$60.
Yeah.
Like they want when they go into like the head shop, which is the
Yeah.
cannabis accessory like name for the shop.
Yeah.
When they go into the head shop, they want to be able to be like, okay, I got this item, this item, this item in my box, and I see that this person is selling it, and it comes up to $60,
Okay.
right? Which is fair. Like I
Yeah.
get it. But sometimes, somebody's perception of what the value is different.
Yes.
Right. Obviously.
Yeah.
And so if they're not literally ticking and tying what the retail price is, they're going off of what they base the value is.
Yeah.
And that could be completely different. And then that's where you
Does
have
it
the
like
hiccups.
backfire somehow, like
Yes.
from them? Like
Yes,
it
yes.
backfires, and then when you
Yes.
try to explain yourself, are people more understanding?
But that's part of the customer service too, right?
Yeah.
Because another feature that I had with the website is after you get your box, after like 7 business days, because it should allow for shipping if it's in Canada, and about like 10 to 14 days if it's going to the US,
Yeah.
it would immediately trigger out a feedback email from you.
Okay.
So then you could rate how you felt about the box. What item did you like the most, and what item did you dislike the
and then
most?
you kind of take that data and you
Right.
kind of like
Because it was able-
improve.
Right.
Because
it
you're
was
able to build
to
something.
personalize the next box.
Oh, okay.
Right. So like if you got like a 3-month subscription, 2 months would be like based off of products that I curated for you
Yep.
and that I think should be great hitters.
Yep.
And then the third box should at least be something that you said that you like, and then it should find a affordable way to put that in there for you.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why getting that feedback was so important, because yes, it's a gift from Smokers Digest, but it's also a personal item too that you are going to have on your shelf that you should be able to love, right?
Yes.
So I still want to have a personalized aspect to it.
And do customers want like do you get like one person, like you get, let's say, a 3-month subscription, and then you get customers, oh well, I like that a little more, can you have that in the next box? You kind of replace, you can do that.
I had this one, oh my gosh, she's such a loyal customer.
Okay.
This lady bought 2 subscription box
Nice.
plans from me at the same time, both of which were 6 months long.
Yeah.
And then she would buy from the shop because I would sell like one-off items at like the regular MSRP, the regular retail price.
Yeah.
And yeah, she would buy stuff, especially like around Christmas time.
Yeah.
Oh, she would stock up. Oh my goodness, this lady, she just kept a smile on my face. And honestly, like whenever I wanted to test out, because I had a little focus group too.
Yeah.
Whenever I wanted to test out something that I wanted to bring to my customers well in advance, like she was a part of that focus group.
Okay.
And I would, like, hey, let me
yeah.
know what your feedback is on this X, Y, and Z. I value your input as well.
Yeah.
So not only is she value to me, but I'm value to her.
Yeah, of course.
You know what I mean?
And that's very important. Like your
Yeah.
most valuable customers are the ones that will bring you your revenue.
Yeah.
I believe that's my and giving, and I think everybody, all of us, we do the same thing. Like customer service is really important, regardless of what job you have. If you're dealing with an external person that kind of are selling the services of the company that you work for, or vice versa. It's pretty cool. I mean, this is really good insight. I mean, you've gone through a lot,
A lot.
and it's kind of goes unseen. That's the thing. What I find is if you make it to the Olympics, everybody's gonna look at you
with the trophy
at the Olympics, at that gold medal or silver or bronze, right? But nobody knows that it takes like $2 million worth of training.
Yeah.
In order to qualify.
In the cold, in the heat, all this other jazz.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you go through so much. Like when was the last Olympics? Was it 2019, I think? I don't remember. The last Olympics, I was in Calgary.
Yeah.
Prior to that Olympics. And I saw a national team for another country train for the Winter Olympics. And it was like 3 years.
Oh yeah,
prior.
they train well in
They
advance
were
because it's
doing,
only
and they
once
got
every
all
4
these
years, eh?
scientists. Yeah, it's every
Yeah.
4 years. So it was like 2 years or 3 years before I think it was the Winter Olympics, actually, just to be clear. And I saw this other national team. They were just training